A man running for state senate in Oklahoma was found dead Thursday. Barry Christian was reported missing after he failed to show up for a scheduled meeting on Tuesday. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation says they located Christian's truck Thursday, crashed into a ravine near the town of Eric. Authorities say the 54-year-old's body was inside, but they have not determined his cause of death.
A family is grieving, a community is shattered, and somewhere in rural Oklahoma, inside a ravine in a remote wildlife area, the answers to what really happened to Barry Christian are still buried. Brooklyn Christian, his daughter, came forward with a plea that stopped people in their tracks. "Our world is upside down right now," she said. "We're still not sure of everything that happened. So please act with grace and treat my dad's legacy with dignity." That statement alone should tell you everything you need to know about how little this family actually knows and how much they are still waiting for. So today, we are breaking down the full story of Barry Christian, a father, a businessman, a man who was weeks away from potentially changing his life forever. And now he has gone under circumstances that nobody has been able to fully explain. Barry Christian was 54 years old, born and raised in Weatherford, Oklahoma. He was not a politician by trade. For 35 years, he worked the oil fields of western Oklahoma as a drilling consultant and drilling superintendent, a blue-collar, boots-on-the-ground kind of man who understood exactly what it meant to build something from nothing in a small town. He also owned multiple businesses across southwest Oklahoma. He had 3 children and 3 grandchildren who, by every account, were the center of his entire world. His youngest daughter said her father wanted nothing more than provide and protect his family, and that he lived only for his kids. His ex-wife, Farah, despite their marriage ending, said they stayed close and that losing him broke her in ways she did not have words for. This was not a man living on the fringes. This was a man deeply rooted in his community, deeply loved, and deeply invested in what came next. What came next for Barry was politics. He launched his campaign for Oklahoma State Senate District 38, a seat that opened up after the incumbent, Senator Brent Howard, chose not to seek a third term. Barry entered as one of 3 Republican candidates, alongside Rick Vernon, an attorney and rancher who picked up Brent Howard's personal endorsement, and Joe Buchanan, a retired fire chief and longtime rancher. All 3 men ran on similar conservative platforms: border security, public education, agriculture, support for small businesses. But Barry had something neither of his opponents had. He had a high-profile endorsement, or at least what appeared to be one, from none other than Kid Rock. A video surfaced of the rock star promoting Barry's candidacy on Instagram ahead of the June 16th election. Now here is where it gets interesting, because some outlets began raising questions about whether the man in that campaign video was actually Kid Rock or a professional impersonator who operates on Cameo. The background reportedly matched the impersonator's setup. Whether that endorsement was real or manufactured, it generated buzz, and it put Barry's name in front of people who might never have heard of Oklahoma Senate District 38. His last public appearance was Saturday, April 26th, at the Mangum, Oklahoma Rattlesnake Festival, a meet and greet with voters where he talked about the issues closest to his community. By all accounts, nothing seemed off. He was engaged. He was campaigning. He had a June 16th election ahead of him, and every reason to keep pushing. Now here's the part that nobody has been able to make sense of. Tuesday, April 28th. Barry Christian was last seen in Sayre, Oklahoma, his hometown. That was it. No dramatic scene. No public argument. No known conflict. He was simply there, and then he was not. The following morning, Wednesday, April 29th, he failed to show up to a scheduled meeting. That was the moment his team knew something was wrong. When Barry Christian did not show up, people started making calls. And when those calls went unanswered, the Sayre Police Department was contacted and a missing persons report was filed. Now, the Harmon County Sheriff's Office and the Beckham County Sheriff's Office both put out public pleas for information. People were sharing his photo. His campaign team was pushing the story to local media. For one full day, nobody knew where Barry Christian was or what had happened to him. And then Thursday morning came, April 30th, 2026. Around 9:45 in the morning, Beckham County deputies located a vehicle in the Sandy Sanders Wildlife Management Area, a remote stretch of land just south of Eric, Oklahoma. Eric is a town of roughly 1,000 people, sitting about 20 minutes from Barry's home in Sayre. The vehicle matched the description that had been circulated, a 2024 charcoal gray Dodge Ram pickup truck. OSBI special agents were immediately called to process the scene, and as they moved through that remote wildlife area, they found something that stopped everything: a body inside the truck. It was positively identified as Barry Christian. But here's what the public needs to sit with for a moment, because the details of that scene are not adding up neatly for a lot of people. The truck had crashed into a ravine, not parked, not idling, crashed, and scattered nearby on the open prairie land. Picked up clearly in footage from Coco 5 News was a large Barry Christian campaign sign. Tossed out, discarded, lie in the dirt next to the area where his body was found. Now ask yourself this: what is a campaign sign doing at a crash site in a remote wildlife management area 20 minutes from his home? Who brings a campaign sign into the Sandy Sanders Wildlife Management Area? And more importantly, who leaves one there? Authorities have not explained the sign. They have not explained how the truck ended up in that ravine. They have not released the cause of death. Barry's body was transported to the office of the chief medical examiner, and as of right now, the manner and cause of his death remain officially undetermined. The OSBI has confirmed the investigation is ongoing and is asking anyone with information to contact their tip line. That alone, the fact that the state's top investigative bureau is actively working this case, tells you that nobody is treating this as a simple accident. Here is what makes this case even more layered. Almost immediately after news of Barry's death broke, a post from one of his friends began circulating on social media, making a direct claim that Barry Christian had been murdered. That word, murdered, it spread fast. It was picked up, screenshotted, shared across platforms before any official statement had come out. Now, law enforcement has not confirmed foul play, but they have not ruled it out either. And in the vacuum of information, that post lit a fire online that has not gone out. So, let's talk about what people are actually asking behind closed doors, and what the internet has been loudly asking out loud. Barry was running in a three-way Republican primary. His two opponents, Rick Vernon and Joe Buchanan, had their own endorsements, their own supporters, their own stakes in this race. The incumbent had already publicly backed Rick Vernon just days before Barry went missing. On April 22nd, Senator Brent Howard endorsed Vernon, putting the weight of his political legacy behind one of Barry's direct competitors. Could political rivalry have played any role here? There is zero confirmed evidence pointing in that direction. None. But the question is being asked, and in a case with this many open variables, it would be irresponsible to pretend it isn't. What we do know is this: Barry Christian spent his final Saturday at a rattlesnake festival shaking hands and talking to voters. He was present. He was engaged. He had a June 16th election on the horizon. And 3 days later, he was dead in a ravine in a wildlife area that had no obvious reason to be part of his life. His campaign website has since been taken down. His name will still appear on the June 16th ballot. Let that sink in. Barry Christian, 54 years old, a father of three and grandfather of three, a man who spent 35 years working Oklahoma oil fields before deciding he wanted to do something more for his community. His name is still going to be printed on a ballot for an election he will never see. And somewhere in a medical examiner's office, the answers his family is desperately waiting for are still being processed. Fellow Republican candidate Heather Boss, who was running in a different district, posted a tribute that captured what so many people were feeling. She wrote that Barry was more than a name on a ballot, that he was a man with a story, a purpose, and a desire to serve his community. She said that in moments like this, the noise of politics fades away, and what remains is what truly matters: human life, compassion, and the people left behind. Even Joe Buchanan, the man who was running directly against Barry for the same seat, came forward publicly and said he was devastated. These were not empty political gestures. These were people responding to a loss that felt wrong in a way they could not fully articulate. And that is exactly the feeling that has followed this case from the moment the news broke. Something feels wrong, not in a conspiratorial, unfounded way, but in the way that a grieving daughter says her family does not know what happened, in the way that a campaign sign ends up in a ravine in a wildlife area, in the way that a man disappears from his hometown on a Tuesday and turns up dead on a Thursday with zero public explanation for what occurred in between. His family is not pointing fingers. They are not making accusations. They are simply asking for grace, for dignity, and for answers. And right now, they do not have those answers. So here is where things stand today. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation has the case. The medical examiner has the body. The truck is being examined by crime scene technicians. No cause of death has been released. No manner of death, whether accident, suicide, homicide, or natural causes, has been officially stated. The investigation is active. The tip line is open. And a community in western Oklahoma is sitting with a silence that nobody knows how to fill. Now here's the question this case leaves hanging, and I want you to think about this carefully. Barry Christian was 20 minutes from home. He was in a remote wildlife management area with no clear reason to be there. His truck was in a ravine. A campaign sign was discarded at the scene. His family says they do not know what happened. The state's top investigative bureau is running point, and a post from someone who knew him personally used the word murder before any official word came out. Does that sound like a straightforward accident to you? Because it does not sound like one to the thousands of people online who have been following this story since it broke. What happened to Barry Christian in those hours between Tuesday afternoon and Thursday morning is a question that his children, his grandchildren, his ex-wife, and his community deserve a real answer to, not a vague statement, not a pending investigation update that never comes. A real, clear, honest answer about how a 54-year-old father ended up dead in a ravine in a wildlife area while he was in the middle of running for public office. If you know anything about what happened to Barry Christian, contact the OSBI tip line at 1-800-522-8017 or tips@osbi.ok.gov. This family needs answers. And until those answers come, this case stays open, and so does this conversation. If you are just finding this channel, hit that subscribe button because we cover cases exactly like this one, the ones that the mainstream news moves past too quickly. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this was an accident? Or do you think there is something more to this story? I want to hear from you.